If she had hesitated for even one moment, if she had doubted her people's strength or surrendered to fear, the entire future of Jamaica might have been lost forever. Because in the mountains of the Caribbean, surrounded by forests, spirits, and enemies closing in from every direction, one woman stood between freedom and absolute destruction. But her rise began with pain. Nanny was born into the fire of slavery. Torn from Africa, chained, whipped, and forced onto a brutal plantation, she saw horrors no child should ever see. Families ripped apart, friends dying under the sun, lives destroyed by men who believed themselves owners of everything they touched. But the slave masters misunderstood her. They thought the chains would break her spirit. They thought the field would humble her. They thought she would fear them forever. They did not know that inside Nanny lived the blood of warriors. And one night, when the moon lit the forest in pale silver, she made her escape. She fled into the mountains, hiding in caves, running barefoot across sharp rocks, guided only by the rhythm of freedom pounding in her chest. She reached the Maroons' runaway Africans who built hidden villages deep in Jamaica's forests. There, she was not a slave. She was welcomed as one of their own. But Nanny didn't come to hide. She came to fight. She trained like a warrior. She studied herbs like a healer. She learned the land like a hunter. She listened to elders, gathered stories, and prayed beneath ancient trees. And the people began whispering her name with awe. Some said she had visions. Some said she spoke with ancestors. Some said she could sense danger before it came. Nanny stepped forward. She became their leader, their queen, their protector. And so began the first Maroon War battle the British expected to win in a single sweep, but which turned into one of their most humiliating defeats. Nanny studied the British Army, their weaknesses, their habits, their fear of the unknown forest. She saw how their bright red coats made them easy targets, how their heavy boots slowed them, how their pride blinded them. She turned the jungle into her weapon. Maroons moved like shadows between the trees. They vanished into caves, reappearing where the British least expected. They used camouflage, ambushes, and decoy fires. They struck at night when fear was strongest, and Nanny was the mind behind every tactic. The British fires lit up the darkness, the Maroon arrows whistled from above. For the world's strongest empire, this war was supposed to be easy. Instead, it became a nightmare. But Nanny had another power, one the British feared even more. Or summon ancestors to guard her people. The British mocked these stories in public, but soldiers whispered them in dread. Fear is a weapon, and Nanny used it well. For years, the British tried to break her. They burned villages. They destroyed crops. They hunted her people like animals. And still they could not find her. Nanny hid her people in caves carved deep into the mountains. She built lookout points where children learned to signal danger. She designed escape routes no outsider could navigate. But the most heartbreaking trial came when the British captured Maroon families and threatened to execute them unless Nanny surrendered. She didn't. Instead, she planned one of the most brilliant rescues in Caribbean histories, sneaking into a guarded encampment, freeing dozens of captives, and disappearing into the forest without leaving a single footprint behind. The British were furious. The legend of Queen Nanny only grew. But war takes its toll, even on the strongest hearts. The plantations demanded more troops. The soldiers grew crueler. And battles that once lasted minutes now stretched into days. Nanny watched good fighters fall in her arms. She buried friends beneath trees where they once laughed. She knew the war could not last forever. She needed a way to protect her people permanently. And so, after decades of fighting, Nanny did the unthinkable. She forced the British to negotiate. The empire that controlled half the world was now sitting across from a woman they once called a runaway slave. They signed a treaty. The Maroons would remain free. Their lands would be protected. Their villages would be recognized as independent. Queen Nanny had won not by bending her knee, but by making an empire bend to her strength. She spent her later years building communities, raising children, teaching traditions, and ensuring the Maroons would never again live in chains. Her people flourished because she kept the mountains safe. And when she died, she left behind something greater than victory, a legacy of survival. A legacy of resilience. A legacy of a woman who turned suffering into strength. Queen Nanny didn't just fight the British, she fought fate, fear, and the expectation that a woman must remain silent. She proved that a single voice, when filled with courage, can echo across centuries. Her story still beats in the heart of Jamaica. Her name still carries power. And her courage still inspires every person who has ever fought for their freedom. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your favorite topic you want me to cover next. Your support helps bring these forgotten queens back to life.